Hello, I am resident of Colwood for YouTube. I am here to continue my read-along reviews of To Benight and Beguile, Book 8, Chapter 3, The Vision Quest. The autumn cool air breezed over the small islands off the coast of Maine like a current of ocean water, filtering a rocky shoreline. The winds hugged the ridge coast, swishing through islets and rock formations in eel-like zigzag formation invisible to the naked eye. Inside the cave of the Danian people, the sacred place on the edge of the North Shore cliffs where Matthew and Hope's ancestors and family were buried. Other many over many decades and centuries ago, the two last members of the tribe sat facing each other over a burning fire that lit their faces in an orange and yellow hue. Their legs crossed, their eyes closed. Matthew's hands sat on his thighs with the palms up, while Hope's arms extended outward, swirling forward in the smoke of the fire, lifting each white plume into the cool air, allowing it to form odd shapes as she hummed a distinctive song. The smoke surrounded Matthew, almost like ghosts coming to circle him with open arms. She continued to hum the song. Then lyrics came to it. Breathe in the smoke, she whispered between bars of her song. Breathe it in slowly and let it seep into your soul, Matthew. Matthew had abandoned his connection to his mystical side decades ago, fearing backlash from a community that persecuted his people. He was now finally ready to reach back into that world, that connection in between, become more like Hope and Alice than ever before. Then, in their people's tongue, Hope called their ancestors to join them in the circle in the smoke. She called on them to enter their minds and guide them to the truth of what Charlotte had seen in her own vision. She called upon them to give them their strength and the hope they'd show Matthew the way to Evie and Gabriel and to protect them as they reached into this supernatural dangerous realm. These waters were not safe for mortals to wade into, but as two members of the close to instinct tribe of mystical, Hope and Matthew were special. Hope began again with the lyrics of the song she was humming, continuing to call on their ancestors who suddenly began to form in amorphic yet human-like shapes out of the rock walls and sand below, and the moss that covered the many, many burial stones around them. There were 20 specific that surrounded the two living Danian people, or what was up to the trap side. The fire that began to grow taller but remained within its circular shaped crucible. It grew higher and higher, almost touching the ceiling of the cave. The ancestors, in their ghostly form, began to lift into the air around Hope and Matthew and joined together, entering the flames of the fire, causing smoke to bellow out and fill the cave to its form, blinding anyone who could see it. But in the smoke, Hope and Matthew breathed, the visions began to come to them as their eyes turned a cold white. A village was seen, smaller than Welshport, but many miles, that sat at the mouth of a river that opened to a wide, cold sea. The sky was dark, the grounds of the sea. The village sat on a damp, frigid, and battered by tremendous weather. Uh, patterns that beat down on the hard rocks that made up most of the streets. Matthew, his eyes still taking in the vision the smoke showed him, Mount Scotland. Finally, confirmation for him. Charlotte's own vision was correct. The sea was wild, angry even, bashing up against the protective walls made by those who inhabited this harsh landscape. The candles in the windows of homes flickered with the sense of a breeze or wind raged outside above these small homes, a looming castle that held two captive. The 20 ghost-like ancestors, Hope and Matthew, surrounded the castle like a stealth army, searching the halls and rooms of the castle telepathically to prove it. Charlotte was correct in her thought that the stone fortress of Cyprinage Castle was Evie and Gabriel's newest prison. Inside the castle, the inhabitants stirred. They sensed something like sharks smelling blood in the water. They felt creatures, they felt eyes, and their finest clothes, creatures of the castle that lurked only at night, began to hiss, searching for the intruders. Their eyes turned black, fangs bare. Hope gasped out loud. Matthew, not surprised by the creatures he saw, continued to observe. Then Dominic, second in charge of this place, and Goodwitch sensed the eyes, seeing them from Welshport too. She too hissed, showing her fangs, but this time she saw the faces of those who were watching. Dominique swatted at the images of those secret eyes, invisible to everyone else, causing a gust of wind like a hurricane to burst through the caves at the North Shore cliff, extinguishing the fire in front of Hope and Matthew, knocking them out of their vision quest back into reality. Hope, her mind heavy with what we saw, reached over and lit two small lanterns and placed one on each side of her. She felt her neck. It felt like it had been stung by a bee. Oh, who or what was that? She asked, her voice almost in a tone that said she already knew but wanted Matthew to tell her. It's them, Matthew replied. He's taking them to Scotland, Charlotte said, but there's something else. What? She asked. They're in a place, a mansion or a fortress somewhere to be with those like that, like him. Those like him, this Sebastian, is he like them, like those creatures we just saw? Hope asked. Matthew nodded. It's how Alice died. He became, or sorry, yes, it's how Alice died. He became so dark, so evil, and she sensed that she feared for us all and warned us too. They fought over this, and he killed her, her fangs, blood, just like the things we saw. Just Matthew explained in the flickering of the lantern's light. What do we do? Hope wondered. I have to get Evie. She and her son cannot remain there. It's too dangerous. I'm afraid they'll be hurt, Matthew added. I won't let you go alone, not after what I've just seen. I'm going with you. Oh, no, I can't ask you to do that. Not after what they did to Alice. I can't lose another sister to those monsters. Hope smiled, but she knew she could not allow Matthew to go alone. Alice was very strong. I wish she were here to be with us too, but if Evie and Gabriel are to be saved, you cannot do it alone, and Alice would want this to have to finish what she tried to do, Matthew. We have to finish Sebastian Lord once and for all. Are you sure? Matthew asked. She nodded, confirming. Then we leave tonight. This is a freight there's a freight ship that I know is leaving for Scotland. I can get us on it, but we have to move fast, he said. She agreed, then the two quickly made their way back to town. Dominique Dachau, the daughter of the dying vampire Count Alexander Dachau, placed her large apartment inside Greenwich Castle. She could not shake the feeling of what she sensed moments ago. It was as if there was a telescope seen directly into her world from a far off place. The feeling of exposure was like a scratching in the pit of her stomach that would not cease. And now dawn approached. The fear of sunlight was never one of her worst fears yet. She abided by the rule of the day sleep. Madam, a timid voice said from the other side of her door. It was Roman, the head of the household order. He'd come, as he did every dawn, to check if she needed anything before she went down. Dominique took a breath and adjusting her tightening corset and went to the door. Come in, she said, her filled with tension. He sensed it and worried she'd somehow discovered Evie and Gabriel were his family. He cleared his throat. Is something the matter? Then she too sensed his nerves and his voice. She turned away, went over to the mirrorless vanity and sprayed a perfume of lavender and bergamot that filled the air around the room and made sure to stay clear from her spray. He remembered many years back how she had used a similar scent to entice one of the many followers, a man named Evan Sheeran, living at a castle in her web. You seem uncomfortable, Roman. Is everything all right? She wondered. No, nothing at all. And you, ma'am? You also seem a bit distracted. Dominic turned back to face the shawl. Parents, parents, nothing for you to worry about, she said, hiding what she had sensed moments ago, believing that perhaps Roman knew more than he was saying. Tell me, has Sebastian and his mortal woman gotten acquainted with their apartments? Roman nodded. It seems so. But Evangeline has been locked up in a separate room. I watched Sebastian do this. They are not getting along. Pity, Dominic replied. I was hoping that she'd come around to living here, and we wouldn't have to dispose of her. Making her one of us would make things so much easier. But if she's already having trouble, then perhaps removing the mother from the equation altogether would speed up the process. My father's life is ticking away, she reminded. Dispose? I don't know if we should do that, Roman said, surprising his mistress. She narrowed her eyes, and why not? Roman gulped. Oh, she's the mother of the child. He's very young, and if he should ask for her, if he should cry, we wouldn't want to traumatize him. His energies need to be positive for him to help your father regain his life force. Gabriel's negative energies may hamper that. Roman, she said, prepared to debate him. She knew he was right. She'll live for now, for the child's sake, but once we are through with the transformation, Evangeline will not be needed now. When can I meet Sebastian? Tomorrow is key. Things have gotten to move fast, Roman. Do you understand? We cannot continue to wait. I must meet Sebastian, and we must, if this child is to be one true mixling we have been waiting for. Yes, ma'am. Tomorrow I'll rush over to him before the sun comes up and prepare him for your meeting, he replied. Dominic sensed something very different in Roman Ashby's demeanor, something she had never felt before. He was holding back something. His emotions were almost blocked. She could not get through to him the very way she used to. They had a very tight bond only a cult leader of Dominic's vampire variety could devise. She was a master of manipulation, a spinner of webs of mind control and seduction that attracted men and the women they found into her world, a world her father had designed full of darkness and treachery, malevolence and lust. She was the honey that attracted the bees, and yet she was poison that left her victims in her control for her father's sake. Their existence was not to take over the world and make everyone like them. The good witch was as good as theirs. Slowly they'd come to take the entire village, and rule as if their own small kingdom, enriching themselves in the blood of Scottish beauty. Gabriel, however, was the key to keeping this dream of village domination alive. It seemed simple, it seemed frivolous, but keeping the village under the Dashal control of whatever remains necessary was the most simple and meant survival. Only Gabriel's life force could do this, but now Romans seemed to stand in the way. Roman, I want to be sure that you understand how utile you are to this process. You have never reached this threshold before, never have encountered the mixin in my lifetime, and thanks to your hard work, we positively finally found him by connecting to your friend in America and discovered Sebastian. This will make us truly immortal. I promise you will be handsomely rewarded for all you've done. Dominic replied, keeping her most trusted confident in what she believed was a sweet spot, but his worry now barred her from connection to this place she had before. This was now a family matter, his own family. I truly am grateful for all you and the Count de Shaw have done for me as I've been with you, he replied, strangely vague, as if he were resigning. I should get to Sebastian before the sun rises, he added before turning to the door. Dominique knew now she needed to enter his mind and see what his hesitations were. If she could only touch his skin without him realizing it, she could enter his mind and see for herself, but it could only work if he did not feel her. If he knew she was touching him, his mind, like anyone's, would instantly block her from any entrance into his psyche. She dared get closer. She moved towards him as he walked to her bedroom door. She was floating above the hardwood floors so her shoes would not make sound. Her long dress fluttered in the air and made shapes like waves lapping up a sandy beach. She could reach out her and to touch the back of his neck. Closer and closer she came as he reached for the door now, and then suddenly he turned. Dominic instantly flashed backwards where she was when he faced her. He did not see a thing. Sleep well, he said before he left. She smiled back at him from across the room, her skin pale and glowing like a moon. Once the door closed, she narrowed her eyes, worried that perhaps she made a mistake of trusting him, and that perhaps Evangeline would not be the only mortal who would need to be disposed of after all was said and done. Give me one second. Very same time as Rowan and Dominique spoke, over in a separate part of the castle, Sebastian quietly unlocked Evie's bedroom door. but the key he was given with one hand, while the other held a tray of breakfast. He was going to leave for her. He pushed it open slowly, revealing her bed. Evie was not in it. The bed had not been slept in at all night. As Sebastian stepped into the room, Evie came running out of the shadow corner with a vase in her hand over her head, ready to drop it on Sebastian in an ambush, hoping to knock him and free herself. Sebastian's reflexes were too fast for Evie, and his powers were too supernatural for her mortal hopes. He lifted his hands, and Evie stopped in her tracks, her mind locked in his gaze. He motioned for her to drop the vase. When she did, it fell to the floor, shattering into large pieces of her bare feet. She snapped out of her trance instantly, reached for the large shard of vase to use against Sebastian, but the glass sliced a cut into her finger. She winced in pain as the cut began to ooze out of the darkest red blood. "Tis, tis," he said, putting the tray of food down on the desk. He grabbed Evie's hand and led her to the bed, sitting her down, and put her finger into his mouth, taking the blood from her. Disgusted, and she pulled away from him. "You disgust me," she whispered as the morning approached. He looked at her, not understanding her resistance. He thought living at Churchill so free and together would have made her happy, but she had not connected yet with this place. "Baby, please don't resist me anymore. It's only bringing us further apart, and I don't want that. I brought us here that we could finally be the family we never got to be. Here you and I can be together and parent Gabriel together. It's all we've ever wanted. Sebastian, you're delusional. We aren't going to be a family in this place where we, we are prisoners. It's not right," she replied. "Being a family was our dream. So far we've become nothing short of enemies. It's not good for Gabriel," he said to her sincerely. "What's not good for Gabriel is keeping him in a place like this. Think about what you've done. You've been locked You've locked me in some bedroom somewhere and taken my child from me. How can any of that make me happy, or make me want to reform our family?" she wondered. "Our son," he corrected her. "Besides keeping you and Gabriel apart, though it's only temporary," he added actively. "I want to see him. I want to see Gabriel," she said forcefully. Sebastian stood up. Evie, who was still sitting on the bed, with a cut finger tightly gripped in her balled up, healthy hand, he went over to the broken vase and looked down. "No," he answered simply. "Yes," she shouted and stood up. "Now. I want to see him now." "I said no," he replied again calmly, as she reached down and began to pile the broken base shards together. "Stay away from this area if you don't have any shoes. I'll ask for someone to clean it up and come back," he said, going towards the door. "Sebastian, I swear to God, I swear on everything on this planet that is good, that I will get out of here, and I will find my child, and I will leave this place with him, and you will never, ever see him again. You understand me? You have broken every fiber of trust in me by kidnapping us and locking me away. There is no turning back now," Evie said, walking towards him as he went to the door to leave. "Evie, we're in the safest place for a family like ours to be. This is where we belong. In time, you'll see that and understand that the Shaw family is our salvation, and we're here forever." She couldn't understand why he was being so cold to her, why he wasn't listening, why he was allowing for all this to happen, as if he were a normal decision. Sebastian's mind seemed somewhere else. He almost seemed forced to speak this way. Bring me Gabriel, she repeated again, hoping her stern request would this time be listened to. No, he said from the open door. This time he was on the other side. The door was closing. Sebastian, don't lock it, Sebastian, Evie shouted, rushing to the door before Sebastian closed it and locked it again. Shh. He pounded on the door, screaming his name. She pounded and pounded and screamed and screamed. She felt an ironic feeling of being back in the coffin, pounding on the lid for Jacqueline to release her. There was no use then, and there was no use now. Sebastian had chosen to take them away from the people that had loved her for his own selfish purposes, and now she had to fight back before things got worse. She slid down the door angry. The tears were dread. She looked over at the pile of broken glass, then her eyes gazed up at the window that was covered with bars and frosted glass. She could see the door, the color of the glass changing, making the rising sun day had come. Marking. Evie had to think, she had to plan her escape and get Gabriel away from all this, but the plan had to be foolproof and leave her no mistake for the sake of her son's life. She got up, her mind unable to calm. She had not slept. She had not been able to change her clothes or bathe. She went over to the breakfast that Sebastian had brought her and lifted the shiny metal dome. Feeling a pretty breakfast, she picked up a tray and threw it across the room and watched the food splatter on the wall and slid down, plopping on the floor for a messy clump. Evie then went over and drew the curtains of the room on another set of large windows equally as barred and equally made of frosted glass. She could not see out. She could not tell where she was or how far up she was in the castle. The bright light of the dawn shined through the frosted glass and showed her the room she'd call her cell. It was nicer than any coffin in even the jail cell in Welshport. The bed made of the finest linens. The walls had the most beautiful floral wallpaper of red dahlias and thorny vines that curled into pieces of black and blue birds of red eyes. The golden oil lamp figures glittered. How low light Evie turned the brass key, making the fire burn hotter and brighter. And then she saw it, the painting above the bed, a stunning woman with dark brown hair, fair skin, and eyes that seemed to look right into Evie's soul. It was Dominic Shaw staring back at her with a look like the frosted over queen of Siphonic's castle. Evie's eyes narrowed. Now, who the hell are you? She whispered to herself. The question burned in her mind like the hot flames in the lanterns, and she wondered just how this person had gotten into Sebastian's mind and controlled him so quickly. Matthew and Hope are off to Scotland. Back in Welshport, the misty moonless evening made for the perfect escape for Matthew and his long lost older sister, Hope. Matthew had worked his seafaring connections and gotten passage onto a freight ship that was headed to the British Isles. Money exchanged hands, and the two Winterbournes were set to join the crew of 10 harbored aboard a ship called Cirrus. Walking along aside a pier, Fatima Braga walked with a basket of fish she had purchased from an earlier returning trawler, a man she'd known in Portugal who always given her first glance at his catch before it hit the market. After paying him and thanking him kindly, she watched as the fisherman and his team set sail again, while with his latest catch was hauled out of the market. Fatima always enjoyed the hustle and bustle of the fishing village. As she continued on her way home, she turned slightly and noted Matthew and Hope slowly walking the long wooden plank that led into the hall of curse. God keep you in your graces, she whispered to herself of Matthew. Matthew and Hope made their way through the iron walls of curse. She felt a bit nervous, unsure of what they were doing there was was the right thing, but she knew she had to help her brother. They'd been separated for so many years, and all she wanted to reconnect and hopefully give Matthew back the part of himself that he hid all these years, the connection to their people and their customs. The two entered the small quarters of their $40 bought them. It had one small coat in the corner, no window, and smelled of rusted iron. You could take the cot, sorry, he said. She smirked nervously and sat on the small bed and hugged herself as the jolt of the ship pulling out to sea shook the room. I feel a little off, she whispered. What do you mean? He asked, kneeling down on their eyes met. Maybe it's the small quarters, I don't know, but I've suddenly gotten very nervous about all this. I feel a bit claustrophobic. My vest feels feels tight, she added. Do you need to go up? Get some air, he worried, but she waved her hand, gesturing in the negative. I'll be fine, she had hoped. I know I feel it too, Matthew replied with a sigh, but I don't want to worry. These ships are very fast and will be on land in a few days. We don't even feel like we're on the ocean. Aside for when we dock again, you'll feel that tug at the ship docks. Hope took a deep breath. She was trying to hide the fact that she was not truthfully a feeling of claustrophobic or seasickness. She felt something much more worrisome, a doom that she could not let go of, but that also could not identify. Now I feel something else is just not sitting right, Hope replied. Tom Matthew answered, standing up and giving his hand. You need air. Let's go up to the deck and get some fresh air. Maybe that'll help. She agreed, took his hand, and the two walked back into the iron halls of the ship. They were dark and dim, the stains of old water leaks marked from the foam green walls in rivers of red rust. They were corners of metal eaten away, years of salt water and salty air. A rat scurried in the shadows behind them, frightening Hope, who heard its tiny nails scratch in the ground as it passed her. This way, I think, Matthew said, still holding his sister's hand as they went up an iron ladder that led up to the side of the dock known as the breezeway. It had wood floors. They were corded and wrapped by decades of rain and waves, but still walkable. Matthew and Hope stood there and let the wind flow over them, cooling their warm skins. Seagulls followed as the ship let out its loud horn signaling they'd pass a marker, and the rest of the smaller ships in the line to leave Welshport Harbor were safe to begin their own voyage. It's beautiful, Hope said, having never seen Welshport from this angle. Quiet, even, her brother replied, as the islands got smaller and smaller in the distance. Every little light is like a star twinkling in the sky, she added. You haven't seen anything yet, Matthew answered. Once we get into the open, see the sky, we will be filled with thousands of little bright dots. You'll be amazed. Matthew, she said, I'm afraid, she admitted. Matthew took a breath and held his sister close. The reality was setting in. He was scared too. Back on the island, the world continued to turn. Very much alive, Verity Spencer, now her own person and not possessed by Jacqueline, moved about the village in a dark cloak, hiding her face. She watched as the townspeople lived their lives as if nothing had happened. Just a month ago, at the trial in her supposed death, she stood now only feet from where they tied her to a pole and burned her alive. Our next move would make her life in town permanent. At Terramore House, at the Lord family sat for dinner, dressed in the nines, as was customary, Jacob at the head of the table, Rebecca at the foot, their eyes almost never meeting, despite practically sitting directly in front of each other. Rebecca's estranged husband, living outside of the mansion, was a conversation unspoken. Charlotte was visiting. Fabian fiddled with his food, while Celeste, ever the dotty mother, asked him politely to eat and not play, as servants darted in and out of the glittering dining room with more curtsies. Across the village, near Village Hall, Nathan entered Mayor Timothy Churchill's home. It was quiet, silence, nothing was stirring. He called out to the mayor. There was no answer. In fact, the reason he'd come to the home was because the mayor had not been seen in 2 days. There was an eerie silence. Deftly even he followed the path of the hallway and pushed the slightly open bedroom door. Deathly silent indeed. At the Braga Fatima's return with the fresh catch, Philip quickly latched on the heavy basket and heavy tore into some of the fresh fish he'd fry for dinner. Mary quietly played her with her adopted son Caleb in a chair in the living room. He giggled innocently, not knowing the mother. He knew who was not his mother, but was a different woman across town named Aurora Jordan. Aurora, for her part, quietly read from a book in Evie's sitting room at Belmore Beach. Caspian, Rebecca's estranged husband, happily watched her over his own newspaper, his headache slowly coming again as the cool air of the sea seeped into the candlelit room, his mind splitting faster and faster with every winching pain of his headache. Then a flash of memory, a dead man in his hands. Jonathan stared out of his third-story room window at Churchill Green Asylum. The quiet night felt a long time coming. He worried for his friend in Europe, Roman. He wondered when his first meeting with Sebastian was like. Did they get along? Did Roman accept the new family in the world? The protected at Sifiniach Castle. Were they protected, basically? Um, he knocked on the door. Jonathan told the person to enter. It was a nurse, a woman with a familiar, it's not bewitching twinkle in her eye. Christopher and Genevieve were entangled in each other's arms, their lips on fire, her hair cascaded over her naked shoulders like long dark waves. He could feel her tremble with the slight autumn chill in the air as the nightgown slipped all the way down to the floor of their bedroom. She kissed his bare chest. He nibbled her earlobe, then they fell back on the bed as they fell into with a passion thrust that connected them in every sense of the word. Cora skimmed through her adoption papers with Aaron, while Lear and Lucas' romantic world clashed as hot and heavy as Chris and Genevieve's. They had come to an impasse, and Lear had finally given in and decided to help figure out who was the person responsible for the black market baby sale. Lear knew how much it meant for his returned sister to know every detail, for the truth it would finally happen. Nicholas Jordan paced the hospital room with Ashia, who had been recovering from her coma while Danielle finished her night shift and went home to worry about what would come of her secret relationship with Nick and her father's return. Danielle knew Rebecca blamed her for her sudden separation, but there was nothing going to stop her from getting her father back. Nick, for his part, worried Ashia would never regain her memory of what she and Rains did to the child Aurora gave birth to. Ashia, her memory intact, continued to keep the truth locked behind her lying eyes, to keep Nick near and away from Danielle. Yes, the world would continue to turn in Welshport while Matthew and Hope went away, which meant one thing: an unpredictable future was setting itself up, one drama at a time. For now, Welshport and all its secrets and mystery would be locked away tightly under the gaze of the Atlantic fog, given away for the terrors that awaited in the south village of Goodrich. The Winterbournes saw Welshport disappear now over the horizon of what sea as they would turn to face another world beyond their knowing. For now, Welshport would be the foreground. For now, into the fog-covered sea the Sirius went, cutting through the ocean waves like a hot knife through butter, and just a few days' time Scotland would appear. Matthew wondered about the people he was leaving behind, the friends he made, the life he made. For them, Winterbourne aboard this rapidly distancing ship, the worry and fear of what they'd find when they got to Scotland was beating like a drum in their minds. Louder and louder the worry came of the treacherous journey that lay ahead, but also for what they'd find when they returned to Welshport, if if they returned to Welshport. Okay, that's the read along. Really good setup for the trip to Scotland, because you have Matthew and his almost sister Hope, who's on this journey with him. You know, they know that it's a castle full of vampires. The village belongs to the Dashals, and then you have things going on in Welshport. To me, you have the lords at this eerie silence in the House of the Lords, which is that's probably not good for them. It's not good for anybody in that house. Because trust me, something's coming. Really good. Link to Benight and Beguile is going to be in the description box. Go check it out if you haven't already. All right, folks, you have a good day.